we go.
Boy reviews.
Cut to my students falling asleep in class.
All right, we are back and we are excited to have the shroud of no spoiler taken away. This is a full-on spoiler talk. For those of you that have seen the movie, we welcome you. For those of you who have not seen it, please be warned, this is all spoilers. We did a non-spoiler review. You can check that out. We give you our grade. We give you our few thoughts. But now, if you don't know, you have been warned, this is all spoilers. Because we're just going to go into, we're going to talk about different points here and there.
Right.
Things that are on our minds.
Right. First of all, the first thing I gotta say is I'm so happy I was correct. I'm so glad. The first thing I told you yesterday was like I was right. Okay, there was that line from Jake Gyllenhaal or Mysterio in the movie where Peter Parker's saying something. So he goes, as a normal kid, he's being humble. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And he goes, "Never apologize for being the smartest dude in the room." You know what I mean? Like that was an awesome line.
Smartest dude in the room.
That was awesome.
If you don't know what he's referring to, watch our X-Men theory video and then watch our Far From Home trailer reaction. You'll see what he's talking about.
Right. Well, I mean, this is a spoiler review, so basically, there is no multiverse. Like I said, I think that would have been too complicated for them to do, and an idea too big for them to do, especially since I think the DCEU has already kind of talked about multiple dimensions as well. I don't think Marvel wants to follow them. You know what I mean? They want to be their own trendsetters. So I was happy to see. I saw them, for instance, This Ned here is actually from the 616 universe, okay? But they're integrating a Peter Parker that's not. So they take parts from all different universes and stick them all together. So it's one of those things where they're taking storylines from wherever, but I don't think they're going to do them like multiverse. They've mentioned it before a couple times, which is why I said it'd be too easy for them just to say, oh, it's the multiverse. That's how they're going to explain everything and introduce the X-Men. No, I'm very happy that they went this direction. The one bad thing, and we talked about this, was like if you already knew it coming in, like, man, I knew the story. Yes, I felt vindicated, but then 5 minutes after, I'm like, man, I knew the story going in.
No surprises.
No surprises. I knew it. But Jake Gyllenhaal still pulled it off. He's that guy that wants to pretend to be a hero because he sees that these heroes always get all the credit, all the due, no matter if there's a smarter, more qualified person there. And that's basically what happened in the comic books. Mysterio pretended to be a hero. Spider-Man busts him and they become arch enemies, etc., etc., etc. At the end of the day, I think that they did a good job adapting that using Tony Stark, where it was Mysterio worked for Tony Stark before, which is why he's got such, advanced tech, and they did a good job explaining that. The only thing that I would say that needed a little bit more exposition, and you're right, is why he was so eager, and we're talking about Peter Parker here, to pass up the mantle of being Tony Stark. Yes, we get it. He doesn't feel like he's, he can fill those shoes, and he doesn't feel like he's up to the task. He's only a kid. He's 16, but it does require a leap of faith, and we'll leave that for the for you to actually go watch the movie. We're not gonna spoil that, but for him to go from, man, I'm not sure if I can do be Tony Stark and fill his shoes, to I'm just completely gonna hand over the reins to Mysterio, this guy I just met. And the way he does it in the movie is rather foolish, and I know that bothered you, Nick, but again, I also say he's a 16-year-old kid. 16-year-old kids can be persuaded very easily. Well, what did you think? What were your thoughts?
All right, so let me start with some good stuff, okay? We didn't mention in our non-spoiler review, Jon Favreau was so awesome as Happy Hogan.
Oh, he's
Jon
awesome.
Favreau. If you don't know, I don't think a lot of people understand who Jon Favreau is.
He's the godfather of the MCU. I know everybody's going to say Kevin Feige, and everybody's going to say, but wait a minute. He's the guy that directed Iron Man 1. If it wasn't for Jon Favreau, this whole thing would not have happened. So you got to give Jon Favreau a mad props.
People don't understand, not just in the MCU, the kind of career this guy's had, and he's always behind the scenes. If you haven't seen Swingers, our older than 15 audience,
The Beautiful Babies.
That's
my favorite line.
Check it out. It is so awesome. He wrote that film. That really got him on the map. He was in Friends for a couple episodes. This guy directed The Jungle Book. He directed The Lion King that's coming out. He, like he said, Iron Man 2. He directed a movie that a lot of people hate that I kind of enjoyed. I thought was fun, Cowboys vs. Aliens. But Besides that, he's doing The Mandalorian right now. He is heading up The Mandalorian's first Star Wars live-action show. This guy is so diverse. And then he has these smaller movies he does, like Chef and other things. He's got his thing on Netflix right now where he's cooking and he's talking to different people. This guy is so talented, and he has no problem. Now, obviously, he's a producer, but he has no problem being Happy Hogan, who is like, he's been in some MC movies for 5 minutes, and that's it. And he's always the guy who has the shtick, or he's made fun of, or whatever. He is probably one of the few guys in Hollywood that, in my opinion, has no ego. And he does a fantastic job. They give him much more to do in this. There's that scene where he's on the jet with Peter Parker, and Peter Parker is broken, and Tom Holland plays that broken so well. He is such a good actor.
Great job.
He played it broken in Homecoming when he's got all that stuff on him after the Vulture put the building on him and he has to break out. His acting range is awesome for a young kid. But when he's broken on that plane, Happy Hogan gives him a little advice and a speech, and I thought that was Jon Favreau's MCU moment. It's beautiful. Those kind of parts of the movie I love. Like I said, I love the high school stuff. I love the first act. I watched some reviews after I watched the movie because I wanted to go into it blind. And some people either love it, they think it's one of the best Spider-Man movies ever, and some people are really, really bored. I'm kind of in the middle. I will say this right now, this is not the best Spider-Man movie that come out in the last 7 months. I feel like Into the Spider-Verse destroys this movie. Into the Spider-Verse is a much better film overall. It's much more enjoyable. It's much more cohesive. And that's an animated film. And for me, animated films start off a little bit below those live-action films.
Yeah, I did enjoy it, and I agree. Into the Spider-Verse is better. But Into the Spider-Verse has one of the best characters in the MCU today, Miles Morales. So, I mean, you already started.
But they had nothing to go off of. They started, and that was a Sony. That wasn't an MCU. That was a Sony film. Sony really did well with that. Anyways, I digress. So, I like I said before, love Zendaya, but I had some issues with some of the campiness in this film. It's like they were going back to Sam Raimi a little bit. They had the teachers. Were they funny? Yes. Was there too much of them? A whole lot too much of those two teachers. Someone mentioned in a review, and I totally agree, the whole bit with the camera falling off, that was a waste of time. That was campy. That was not really very funny to me. We have these kids constantly put in dangerous situations, and the school's not pulling them back. Anyways, I don't want to get too into that. My biggest issue, and I love Jake Gyllenhaal as an actor, I really do. After thinking about, there's actually a few moments in this film where his acting's not that great.
Really?
I feel like he's in between. There's a few looks he gives Peter Parker when he says like the Mysterio line, "I'm Mysterio." And I understand he's going with like, ha ha ha, I'm going to steal that word from you, and I'm just trying to scare you. But it was weird. I felt like it was awkward. Gyllenhaal is a masterclass actor.
He is.
I don't think he hit on all parts. And then when he goes full villain, I feel like he gets a little campy with his full villain a little bit. There's parts where he's got emotion and he's yelling at Peter Parker. Those parts I love. I love his edge with that. But my biggest issue, this is my biggest issue with this film, and I was talking to you about last night, the writing, it was too convenient when Peter Parker gave him the glasses, when he gave him Edith. It was way too convenient. His plan, I understand, was to manipulate everyone. We're assuming so he can get those glasses so that he can get more drones. Now, he already had enough drones to do the thing in Mexico and to do the thing in Prague.
Right.
But he needs 1 million more to convince people of this and that. Anyway, I don't want to get I'm going all over the place in my mind. Let me stay focused on the convenience. It was too convenient. In my opinion, the writing did not provide anything for those characters, for Beck to invoke Peter Parker to give him the glasses. He doesn't ask for the glasses. He doesn't mention the glasses. He doesn't talk about how Nick Fury is being hard on you. Maybe someone else. Maybe you should bring in a partner. He doesn't do anything like that. His master plan after the thing in Prague is to put him into a pretend bar for a 16-year-old, and they're going to have their masks off in this pretend bar, which I thought was weird at first, and then explain itself with the illusion. But his whole thing is to give him a few lemonades and wait until he gives him the glasses. He did nothing to invoke that. And then he started to congratulate himself, and I thought that was too convenient. And the reason why that small part bugged me so much is it's such a pivotal part in the entire plot. we are led to believe, again, because they don't explain it to us at all, we are led to believe that was his plan from the jump.
Right.
And that he wanted to get those glasses. They had figured out who probably would get the glasses. They figured out what they would control. They figured all that stuff. And he didn't even say, let me try those on real quick.
Right.
Peter Parker told him, no, again, please try it on. You look great. Hey, I want to give you this power because I don't want it anymore. I thought that was way too convenient. Right. And if I am Beck and I'm planning to get these glasses, if my plan was I'm going to give him a few lemonades, we're going to pretend we're in a bar, and I'm going to wait till he gives it to me,
right,
I wouldn't feel too confident about that plan.
Right.
It really bothered me.
Right.
And there's a few other elements in this movie where it was way too convenient. And this is an MC movie. These guys are above and beyond as far as filmmakers and superhero movie goes.
Right.
And I'm going to shut up because I'm rambling right now. But they do a better job writing than they've done in this movie. I think we
discussed this last night, and I think that they wanted to, and they tried to set it up for you from the very beginning. You know, he's going to Europe, and he intentionally, his aunt tells him, hey, to pack your suit, and he leaves both. He leaves the Iron Spider suit, and he leaves his regular suit. He does that intentionally. So you can already see, like, he doesn't want this responsibility.
No, I totally buy that.
His aunt is the one that packs it in there. And even the first conversation when Nick Fury brings him in, before they end up going to Prague, he's like, look, I just want to be on a school trip. If I'm here, people are going to, and they see Spider-Man, people are going to figure out I'm Spider-Man.
I love that. I thought all that was good.
I think Quentin Beck, again, Mysterio, from that interaction already knew that, hey, this kid doesn't want this responsibility. He's only a 16-year-old kid. It won't be too hard to manipulate him. I get what you're saying. That one scene...
He did nothing to get those glasses.
That one scene...
And they were just given to him.
You know, it was more of a plot device to keep the movie moving forward. This is how I got the glasses. I agree. But
not to cut you out, my biggest problem with that, though, is they do all of that because they want to put a twist on us that Mysterio is really a bad guy, and he's got all these people working for him that are post Tony Stark employees.
Right.
But like you said before going into it, most people felt like, of course he's going to be a bad guy. He is a bad guy. He's not going to end up being teamed up with Spider-Man. I had hoped that he would not turn, because I thought that was too easy.
Right.
But they did all of that so they can give us the twist that he's a bad guy, and I think that is weak. I think if they had a chance to do it again, they would set... I mean, I don't even think it takes much to set it up. But he did not invoke anything to get those glasses. And again, the glasses represent Tony Stark. We talk about John Wick a lot and the puppy and how I think that's a lame thing. And you say, well, what does the puppy represent?
Right.
Those glasses, even though he has not had as long as a puppy, those glasses are the last thing, as far as he knows, that Tony Stark gave him. And not just that, but they are the keys to the kingdom. And the first guy he meets... You seem like a good guy, and what's the main reason why? What's the main reason why? Because when he puts it on, he looks like Robert Downey Jr. Are you kidding me?
I get that.
Are you kidding me?
I get that. That was kind of weak. And here's the thing. The glasses, you're right, represent Tony Stark, and it's even funny because the program that the glasses control, Edith, stands for Even Dad, I'm the hero. Again, it just Tony Stark's influence was in this movie, even though he wasn't in this movie.
And I loved that.
So I love that about it. And you're right. This is the last thing you get, and you're willing, because you want to run away from your responsibility, to give it to the first person you see, just because he seems to be a good guy, and because everyone's touting him to be a junior, because he looks like Iron Man. Come on. All right, I get that. And again, that's what keeps this movie from being an A+ or an A, and it's an A-.
I want to see it again. I'm going to take my kids in a few days. We'll see how it changes there then and there. But there's a lot of things I love about this movie, but for me, again, even the action, I was kind of bored with the action, with all the drones flying around. Now, there's some cool sequences where he is just web-slinging like crazy with all these drones, and it's him versus like 1 million drones, and he's doing an awesome job with that. But do you have anything else before we get to the post-credit scenes?
I think that one of the things that you really got to see, which they hadn't really explored in any of the past Spider-Man movies, at least not to my knowledge. And I mean, when I talk about the MCU Spider-Man movies, Civil War, which was where he was introduced, Homecoming, Infinity War, and wow, he's already been in 5 movies, and Endgame, was his actual spider sense, so is what they call it, his...
Peter Tingle.
Peter Tingle. Now, you saw it on the bus when his hairs went up or whatnot, but what it also gives an opportunity to do is fight without sight, where his body naturally is contorting so that it's moving out of the way of projectiles being shot at him, and we got to go see that. That's the first time you saw him in that scene, in that space, where he's taking on multiple... Spider-Man's always better when he's taking on multiple villains as opposed to just one villain, because then you really get to see him go in action, where it's almost a sixth sense that he has, and, things are getting shot past him, and he's just barely moving it and eluding it by inches. And now it was such an awesome scene. That drone scene was really, really cool.
The Peter Tingle, right?
Right.
They have done, in my opinion, a horrible job with Spidey sense.
Right.
I mean, they even made a joke about in this movie. You got hit by a banana. You couldn't see a banana coming. But throughout the movie, I didn't see once where he was trying to make it work and it still wasn't working. All we see is at the very end, he says, all right, Peter Tingle. And then all of a sudden, he can do it to the max degree. Right. He is just a master at it. Right. For me, again, that was too convenient. They wanted that banana joke. Right. And so they showed that. I appreciate that to a certain degree because it helped us understand, why aren't you using that more often?
Right.
But we don't get a good enough reason why he's not using it. We are led to believe that it's because he doesn't want to be Spider-Man when he's 16. He's been Spider-Man for like a year. Right. And also he doesn't want to be Spider-Man. He comes off a little whiny, I think, in that way. But the Peter Tingle, again, that was too convenient for me.
I know that'll bother real comic book fans because there's a really famous comic.
He can just turn it on.
Where
he got hit by a train, man. He couldn't see that coming.
He can't turn it on. It's something that's always there. So that's going to bother comic book fans. Exactly. And it's a really famous comic where he's in bed asleep, and Mary Jane sneaks into the apartment because she knows he's asleep, and just playful like any couple would, like your wife would do, or my wife would do, grabs a pillow and goes to hit him with the pillow, and out of his sleep he's up, does a backflip, then a pirouette in the air, like lands behind her, sweeps her leg from under her, and this is all instinctively. This is just, and she's like, what are you doing, Tiger? That's what she calls him. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. And it's just that my spider sense is so sensitive that anything aimed to attack me, naturally, my body goes into this instinctive overdrive. And he explains to her that even a loving wife with a pillow can be seen as, harmful. It's a super cool scene in the comic book that explains just how involuntary this thing is. So for him to be able to turn it off and turn it on, you took a lot of liberty there, Marvel. I'll let it go.
They just gotta build it up. And for me, they hate on the fact that I love Aquaman the way I do. I understand Aquaman has issues, but I feel one of the best things that Aquaman has is it does a great job building up the tension, building up the emotions, so that when he gets that suit at the end, for me, I'm cheering every single time.
Right.
I wanted to cheer when he was able to finally use the Peter Tingle,
right,
and especially the last scene with holding the gun.
Right.
I wanted to cheer a little more. But overall, still a good movie.
Right.
Thank goodness they have Tom Holland. Thank goodness they have Zendaya. Thank goodness they have Ned. I think his name's Jacob.
Ned was awesome.
Talon. If I said that wrong, I'm sorry. He's a great character. Man in the chair. There's a lot of great one-liners. There really is. There's a scene where Tom Holland, Peter Parker, he's jumping on these wooden posts in the water. That was flawless. That was awesome.
Really, really, really liked what they did at the end. Nick Fury is the man. Whether it's the comic books or whether it's in the movies, Nick Fury's the man. He has no superpower, and all these
great character
superheroes, these gods, as in Thor, everybody listens to Nick Fury because he's the man. At one point, Jake Gyllenhaal says in the movie, man, I'm trying to fool, the most dangerous man alive. Nick Fury is. And I was like, how does Nick Fury get fooled by these drones? Stop it. And they kind of make it a joke where he was like, I had my doubts. And then Maria Hill says, no, you don't. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, really? Okay, I guess they're going to go comedic with Nick Fury. And then at the end, the big reveal. Nick Fury is a Skrull. He's a Skrull. So they're leading.
Ben Mendelsohn Skrull.
Ben Mendelsohn Skrull, exactly. He's Talos. He's there. To me, they're starting to build up Secret Wars, where you find out, and that's another huge set piece in Marvel, a huge end of year mashup where half of the Marvel universe was Skrulls, secret Skrulls that they went and infiltrated the Skrulls. Skrulls infiltrated these superheroes, took over their appearances, and then, as you remember in Captain Marvel, they were our mannerisms, even our memories they can tap into. So nobody knew who was a Skrull or not, and the whole title was "Who Can You Trust?" So I think that's where they're going with next. I don't know if I'm gonna go 2 for 2 here, but that would really build my ego. But I really like that they did that end, because yes, you can fool Skrulls. You're not fooling Nick Fury. That's not gonna happen, all right? And I loved that, like that they did that, because I was like, they like brought him down a peg. The mythos of Nick Fury.
They did good right by fixing that potential plot hole. I'm gonna make a prediction here. We got Homecoming. We got Far From Home. I don't need any more high school stuff for Spider-Man. They did it with 2 movies. I don't want to see it for the 3rd movie. The 3rd movie is going to be called Leaving Home. I can see that, where he's out on his own.
Right.
He's not with Aunt May, or she'll be in it, but he's trying to adapt to being on his own, like they did in Spider-Man 2.
Right.
Now, the other end scene where his identity gets revealed.
Right.
We live in an MCU world where everyone's identity is revealed, right? But he's a kid. He's got Aunt May. I would have liked to see that after some potential villains are introduced, after a Green Goblin is introduced to a certain degree, after the Sinister Six are brought back in this movie a little bit, to where the stakes are so high that his identity gets revealed, and now he's got 8, 9, 10 guys gunning for him. I think it was too early to do that.
Right.
It was cool to see Jonah Jameson up there, J.K. Simmons. It was cool to see that scene. It was cool to see the web slinging finally.
That was, I think, the first time the whole theater went crazy when Joe Jonah Jameson came out.
He got the biggest pop.
They were like, "Oh!" Because it's the original Joe Jonah Jameson. That was awesome.
But anyways, I think it's too early for that. I'm calling it Leaving Home. Once again, I gave this a B-. You're sticking with the A-.
A-. And I completely forgot about that end credit scene. That's also from the comic books. And I tell you what, it does not end well in the comic books. It actually happened during Civil War when Spider-Man's identity is revealed. And I hope that's not where they're heading here, because that's going to be some tough stuff. I mean, it's a real tearjerker.
Yeah, I think it's a little too early, but I think they want to spice it up for Phase 4. Anyways, if you got any other things that we missed, I'm sure we did, leave in the comments below. Hopefully this will be a comment-filled video on the spoiler review.
Right. Like and subscribe.
We got some good stuff coming. Lion King's in a few weeks. I'm excited for that.
Hobbs and Shaw. Oh. Every movie I go to, there's a Hobbs and Shaw preview.
Potentially biggest action movie. But we don't want to reveal too much in this video. Until next time.
Adios.